everybody who is connecting. We are very excited today for this amazing live. We have here today Zia. This is our second live, right, Zia, from CTI Staffing. He's our
Absolutely.
COO. And today we're going to talk about a very, very important topic. It's leadership. So, Zia, let's just get started with it. So, let us know, what is a leader? First of all, I just want to say welcome again, right, to everybody. So big clap for that, for everybody who is joining. And then let's just start right away. Yeah, I think it's just loading. 1 second. Let us hear the clap. It's taking longer. It's okay. We'll clap it later. So yeah, what is leadership, or what is a leader? Go ahead.
So a leader, from everything that I've seen, everything that I've encountered from my experiences, a leader is somebody that is incredibly selfless. It's somebody that puts the dreams and the needs of others above themselves because they know when their people are successful, they're going to be successful. And at its core, what leadership comes down to is being able to give up praise and absorb the negative. It's never their fault, it's your fault. You never did the right thing, they did the right thing. So when people ask me what is leadership, leadership may be the hardest thing somebody can ever do because our natural instincts are to be great ourselves.
I'm doing, event planning for many.
Can you hear me, Sia?
Does that make sense?
Yes. Does that make
fine.
sense? Now, perfect. Now, can we go ahead and talk about what is leadership, or how can we be leaders inside our job? Or, like, for example, for you, how can you be a leader right now?
So leadership comes in different stages, and it comes in different times in your career. Anybody can be a leader. And something as simple as taking out the trash is something nobody wants to do. But the person that decides to do it because they know it's in the best interest of the company, the best interest of their team, the best interest of just everything that's going on around them, just take the trash out. Pick up the piece of trash on the piece of paper on the floor, throw it out. Restock the paper in the printer. Little things like that make you a leader. It's nothing you have to do. But it's something that shows initiative. And when people see you do that, you may not even be their boss. Mm-hmm. They may not report to you, but they will look to you for guidance. Now, once you've assumed that title of leader or manager, I hate that word manager, but whenever you've assumed that title, it goes deeper than that. It's you got to look at them as people, and you're leading a person.
Right.
Everybody works for a different reason, and you can't lead people the same way. I have a guy who's 64 years old, ready to retire. I have a 22-year-old kid out of college. Mm-hmm. I can't treat them the same way. I can't treat them the same way. They have different wants. They have different needs. Being able to really identify those, their key points, and helping them achieve their personal goals through work will make you the best leader you can be.
That's really important, and that's actually something that actually some people would like to feel from their own leaders, right? How can you actually manage your team? How do you manage it to actually make them feel empowered?
So I have a very simple saying. I never want to hire somebody and tell them what to do. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I never hire somebody and tell them what to do. Mm-hmm. I hire them and tell them what I need done. Because what that does is it empowers them to figure it out themselves. When you're telling somebody to do, they feel insulted almost. Now they're going to ask you for guidance, like, how do you think I should do it? That's fine. But if I hire somebody, I say, hey, listen, what I need from you is I need sales. If I'm hiring a salesperson, or if I'm hiring an operations person, listen, we're spending too much money. I need you to find out how can we lower that?
Right.
I'm not telling them, hey, I need you to look at this specific thing and do it right now. Call this person. No. When you do something like that, you're taking away their power. You're taking away their ownership. of the task. When somebody owns a task, they are so much more responsible for it. They're much more proud of what they have to do. And you're going to get 10 times the effect of telling them what to do. What would be the point of hiring somebody for 6 figures and then telling them what to do? I want to hire you for a lot of money, and then I want you to tell me what I can be doing better around here. I think that's where managers and leaders are separated.
That's a clap for them.
I always want to be the dumbest, worst guy on the team.
That's true. Yeah. And also, what about micromanaging too? I think there's also a distinction there, that you don't want to keep feeling micromanaging people when you actually give them the power to, be owners of that task. Also, what is expected from a leader, Sia?
The number one expectation I would have from a leader, and I would expect somebody to have of me, is I have their back.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is more important than I have your back. If something happens, they have to know they have the support to get through it. Because a lot of times people are scared to make a mistake. Mm-hmm. If you're not scared to make a mistake, you're going to do great things. People are more scared of making a mistake than being rewarded for doing something great. And what we have to do as a leader is to take that fear away, because they know they have our support. We're not here to do the job for them, but we are here to help them get it done.
And that actually takes us to another question, and is how a leader should be accountable of its own decisions.
So one of the things I like to do is I'll make one large overall decision, but then I want the team to take ownership of how we're going to get there. Mm-hmm. So for example, a very simple decision we made this year is we want to double sales. That's a decision we want to make. We made the decision. Our goal is we want to double sales. Then what we do is now we bring it to the team. How are you going to contribute your part? That's us setting an expectation of, here's what our expectations are for the year. How can I hold each person on the team accountable to do their part to get to that overall number? A lot of leadership, and some of the toughest parts about it, is setting up proper expectations, but then finding a way to hold them accountable to it. And a lot of times that happens through compensation. Especially anybody that's revenue producing. If they're not hitting their number, they're probably not making the money they want to make to live the life or the lifestyle they want to have. So a lot of the accountability comes through finance, which is great. It makes it a lot easier because it's almost like self-accountability. But for the people in operations, how can you make sure they're holding up? How can you make sure they're living up to their end of the bargain? So that's a lot of it, is set the proper expectation, hold them accountable to it. But more importantly, when everybody knows the expectations, now they're being held accountable to each other. It's a real team effort. And what you realize is when accountability is spread across the board, nobody wants to let their partner or their peer down. Right. And nobody wants to work with somebody who's going to let them down. They want to trust the person they're working with.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we have actually questions from people, but I want to go to the last question. And what is the nuance of leadership?
So I think when it comes to leadership, nuance may be the most powerful tool, powerful characteristic, the most powerful thing a leader can hold is nuance. And nuance, people think they know the definition of nuance, and there are different interpretations of it. The way I look at it, nuance is, how do you get somebody to do what you need them to do because they want to do it? That's very difficult, right? It's like the movie Inception. If I tell you to think about elephants, if I tell you don't think about elephants, what are you going to think about? Elephants, right?
Elephants, right.
But you have to, how do you make it their idea? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times the way that I've done that is by using their personal goals to kind of get them there. A lot of people want to buy a house. Okay, great. Buying a house, that's my background's finance. I can help them with that all day. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, so how much is the house? Mm-hmm. They're going to say $500,000. Okay, $500,000, that's a nice house. Well, not today. It was 5 years ago. Today it's an average house. I say, so you're going to need to have 20% down. 20% down is $100,000. You're going to need either 5% down to close. right? That's another $25,000. So we need $125,000 in cash to buy this house. So if we're going to do that, first thing we're going to look at is, what are your savings? I have 50,000 saved. Okay, great. So now you need 75,000 more to purchase this house. So what we do is we end up working backward from their goals. And we can land on the fact that you need to make $75,000 before the end of the year. If every deal you close makes you $5,000 and it takes you 10 appointments to get to that, you need 150 appointments between now and the end of the year to make the $75,000 to buy your house.
Right.
Now what you've created, now in their head, they believe they can buy this house if they set the appointments that they need to be successful. And that's just an example. And now they are going to do what we need them to close business, right? That's our job, is to produce revenue.
Correct.
So we're able to get what we need because it's in their best interest. And that's when you're able to get both parties to align, great things can happen.
That's wonderful. And actually, a big cheer for that. Let's see if we can hear it. It's always loading very slow. But thank you so much, Sia. I think we kind of gathered the question we wanted to actually talk to the people, but we do have some questions from the chat, and we're going to go through those. And then I'll swear I'll just one day click the sharing button. So some questions that we have, Sia, is Elisa is asking, what values are important to you as a leader?
The values that I find important as a leader. It goes back to loyalty, that having somebody's back. It's very difficult to work for or be led by somebody that you know they have their own interests at heart and not yours. That makes it very difficult to follow that person. If something goes bad, are they, oh, that's his fault? Or are they helping you get through that by taking on ownership of the problem? That has got to be the most important thing. You have to have their back. They have to know they can trust you. If they trust you, they'll run through a wall for you. If they don't, they're going to leave you out to dry. They're not going to do any of the things that you need them to do to be successful.
That's amazing. And she has another question, and it is very important too. And how do you inspire others while keeping yourself inspired about the organization's mission?
So I look at it differently. I know we have a revenue number. I know we have a profitability number that we need to get to. But the way I try to position and the way I try to set up our company and the way we do things is, if they're successful, we're successful. And as somebody who's been in leadership for a while, I've taken on that feeling of, I need my people to be as successful or more successful than myself. So that my inspiration is watching somebody buy a new house, watching somebody buy a new car, take the vacation they wanted to be on. That makes me happy. That excites me. So when they're able to do that, that's the inspiration that I need. And in turn, that's the things they want to do anyway. So we will hit our numbers if they have the lifestyle they need to have. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And actually, it's amazing because it's true. And we have another question that I think is actually good for you to actually, think about, and is, what's something you wish someone told you earlier about your leadership journey?
Don't be their friend.
Okay.
Don't be their friend. And it's very difficult because when you work with somebody all the time, you're going to develop a relationship.
Okay.
But there has to be that distinction. There has to be that separation where you can be close, you can have a good relationship, but you have to make sure there is that separation of friendship and work.
Okay.
And it's very difficult, especially for a younger leader. Right. Especially when I was in my 20s and early 30s, it was very difficult not to be their friends. So I'm like, I'll do anything for my friends. They'll do anything. No. What I find is a lot of times the people who report to you, they kind of act like kids. Yeah. And it's not like your kids. It's not like your kids don't love you. It's not like your kids don't like you. They're still going to be kids and they're still going to get in trouble. And sometimes you have to be a parent and you're not supposed to be their friend. That was something I wish I learned a little bit earlier. And it was something that was actually told to me numerous times. Stop being their friend. You have to lead them.
That's true.
And it's something it was just difficult as a younger leader to do that. So
That's true. We have another
yeah,
question from
sorry.
Joe, and is how do you manage your deadlines
Sure.
as a leader?
Managing deadlines. So deadlines are, it really depends on what the deadline is.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing, it's kind of going back, you have to kind of prioritize everything. And it kind of goes back to expectations and accountability and expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And if the expectation is we have to get this done by Friday, then you have to make sure you're willing to put in the hard work to
Right.
get it done by Friday. Like I love to go to the gym during the day. That's my break. That's how I separate my morning and my afternoon I go to
Mm-hmm.
the gym. If I have to forfeit that to get something done, then that's what I have to do. Sometimes you just have to reprioritize your day and re-examine everything to make sure you're getting you're getting the goal done.
We had also
Like
some
I know a
previous.
lot of my guys.
Sorry,
I'm
Sia.
sorry, I know a lot of my guys will work on a weekend where they're not supposed to be working. There's no expectation for them to work on the weekend, but they know they're like, man, I was supposed to deliver this by Friday and I couldn't get it in, but I know this person said they were available to speak Saturday, and they'll call them on a Saturday. They'll work with them on a Saturday to reach their goals, their expectations. So a lot of it's compromising, but realizing there's a bigger goal in mind.
We have another good question, and is what resources do you suggest for new leaders? Any book, any podcast, any app that can help us become leaders?
Absolutely. I'm going to see if I have this book behind me. I think I actually lent it out. One of the best books I've read. I lent it out. It's The 5 Levels of Leadership, and the 5 levels. It's by John Maxwell, and it really helps you understand where you are in your leadership journey. It helps you understand if you, especially on a newer leader, or even a seasoned leader, to show you where am I, what can I be doing differently, how would they see me differently, how can I be seen differently. And it kind of walks you through like being appointed as a leader, having people start following you because you've done it, having people follow you because they believe in you. Then you start creating leaders under you, and then you've started creating an organization of leadership. It's a long, infinite process. It never really ends, and that's the beauty of it. And it really helps you get the mental understanding of what is leadership. How can I be better at it? Because at the end of the day, the better you are as a leader, the better everybody around you is going to be. And 5 Levels of
Right.
Leadership by John Maxwell. 100%
Awesome.
recommend that book.
Okay.
And yeah.
Wonderful. We have one last question.
What else do you have over
Remember that
there?
we have just one more
Okay.
last question. We have 20-minute session, and this is a little bit long, but I think it's very important. So Ryan is asking, in leadership, how do you overcome when some people on the team are underperforming and others are exceeding expectations? How do you uplift those who are not projecting their goals and separate them from those who are?
So with that, I look at it as 2 things. Is it a skill problem or is it a will problem? If it's a skill problem, I actually don't separate the 2.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably actually merge the 2 together and have them work together more. What you'll see is the experienced, the producers will actually benefit from helping somebody else out because they probably received some sort of help to get to where they are. And to help somebody that is willing to put in the work is rewarding. Like if you know somebody's really trying, they're really putting
Right.
in that effort,
Mm-hmm.
and there's something missing. An experienced person has seen a lot. Like just today, I was doing an objection session with one of my reps, and they said, hey, I got this objection. I didn't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard this objection 427,000 times.
Oof.
It just can't, the answer just automatically comes out. But it's something that he'd never heard. And in a situation like this, when it's a skill situation, when you put a top producer with probably either a newer rep or somebody who's just not cutting it, they're going to be able to absorb a lot of that experience very quickly. And more importantly, what I've noticed is you're going to start building a better culture. Now, on the flip side, you have a will problem.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to understand now, what is a will problem? A will problem is they can do it. They don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very dangerous person to have on your team, because cutting them, you're cutting potential. But leaving them, they can become a negative cancer on the team, which could also ruin your culture that you're trying to build.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those ones where when you have the will problem, you have to pull them aside. You bring them into your office, or you take them out of the office. A lot of times you may take them out for lunch, take them out for a cup of coffee, and say, listen, we got to talk.
Right.
I think you have all the skills to be $1 million, $10 million, whatever producer here. Unfortunately, I don't think you have the desire to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Help me understand what's holding you back. Because at the
I
end of
love
the day,
it.
you're not telling them they're bad. You're just telling them
Right.
something's missing.
Right. And
And a
you're
lot of
actually concerned. So, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times what you're going to find out is there might be something personal going on with them
Mm-hmm.
that they just haven't talked about that's affecting them at work. You might find out that there was a problem with their commission check 6 months ago and they're still bitter about it. Just the most random things that you could have fixed had you addressed it. A lot of times it's skill versus will. Skill you can fix. Skill you can fix. Will you have to be very careful on. It's a very, very slippery slope.
So yeah, thank you so much. This was wonderful. Thanks everybody for joining. We addressed all the questions. So let's see if this time I can hear it. One day we will hear the sharing from our new platform. But anyway, thank you so much, guys, for joining. Thank you, Sia, for joining. Don't forget to follow us on our social media accounts. We are at CTI Staffing, and stay tuned. We have more lives coming soon. So we're just gonna let you know what are the topics. But thank you so much for joining, and thank you, Sia, and have a wonderful rest of your day, guys.
And it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye, Sia. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.